I identify as both. I'm a gay man, I'm queer, I'm a faggot, I'm a fairy, sometimes radical.
Or entitle someone to claim a queer identity.
Oh boy, that's a good one. I think a lot of people can claim themselves as queer. I mentioned to you earlier, I know a lot of straight people who identify as queer, sexual. And I think sometimes they identify...
Did you feel that way? Like, why does she get to say that she's queer?
Well, because I had this conversation with someone else, which was, his whole thing was, I'm tired of people appropriating the word queer and not being queer. Like, But then I was like, well, what does that mean?
Why do you get to decide who's queer?
Well, again,
that'd be my rebuttal.
Well, this was someone, this is the first person I interviewed.
Yeah.
I love how you put it that. Well, I'm gay if I have a dick in my mouth. I'm like, well, why does that make you gay? I understand
it. Could be an accident.
Yeah.
It could be your own dick.
But, this also, it goes back a little further. I remember I was doing something at ODC, and the theater director came out, and we were just upset we were smoking. Mm-hmm. And he asked me, do you think of your work as queer or as gay? And I said, oh, queer. And then he says, well, that's funny, I always thought of your work as gay. And I didn't take that, I just sort of, okay, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But when I thought of it, it's like, well, I'm offended. Like, first of all, why do you get to call something queer versus gay? And what's wrong with gay? Like, the way he said it, it sounded like an insult. I'm
like, rather than queer.
Right, like somehow
it's
queer.
Just gay. It's not
yeah, like queer is lesser, or gay is lesser.
Uh-huh.
I'm so fucking offended.
Interesting.
And it sticks with me. It's like, because he also traffics with a specific queerness, which I find to be very white.
Are we talking about Rob Bayless?
I may or may not.
You can expunge that.
No, I may or may not take that out. I don't care if he comes. He probably won't come. But if he goes, bitch.
So when I hear the word queer, I also think it means a lot more. It's like exploring the boundaries in lots of different areas, and sexually and stuff too. They're
really identify as entirely a man, but I don't really identify exclusively as a gay man either. I've had sex with women, with men, with trans men, trans women. For me, attraction is attraction, and gay is this box, and it's a cultural box. And it's a culture I don't identify with.
But you're cisgender.
Yes, I'm cisgender.
Yes. Just for clarification.
Yes.
No, but they should.
to the fringe stuff. It's and gay is just kind of oh, he's gay.
Missionary position. Also.
Exactly, which is not necessarily, whatever.
That's what we lost when we were fighting for same-sex marriage. Is that we were just trying so hard and so desperately to prove to everybody that we were just like them, right? When in fact, we are not.
That's right. I like to suck dick. Do you like to suck dick? Maybe your one pappy does, but you do not.
That's right. It's just the most bizarre thing to me. We ignored our entire experience as a community in order to push for this legitimization by the state that is relatively meaningless. Right? Because I don't know about you, most of the long-term gay male couples I know have been in open relationships for years, but you would never know that. It never came up. It never became part of the dialogue that we actually engage in relationship with one another differently.
Well, do you feel like that's a closet?
Of course it is. It's a huge closet, right? It's a huge closet. But it's just bizarre to me that we ignored that or just decided we weren't going to talk about it.
Well, because there's such a judgment in the LGBT community, specifically within the gay community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm queer, and I'm queer in my body, I'm sort of queer in my gender sometimes. And sometimes I'm queer in my sexuality. So
Do you identify as trans, or is that not?
Well, part of me does, because I have transitioned from my intersex status and my natural intersex body to a masculine's body by taking testosterone, which is what a lot of trans men do.
Right.
But I haven't had any surgery or
Queer. Do you sleep with me? That's right, look.
Yes, girl, I would. I would.
Okay,
Yeah, 17.
all right. Out of how many people? 5?